Welcome back. Let's bring in our guest, who is not, doesn't need any form of introduction. Former governor of Rivers State, former minister of transportation, and a key figure contender for the 2027 presidential election in the ADC, Mr. Amaechi. Your Excellency, good morning and welcome to the program. Your Excellency, if you can hear us, good morning, sir.
I said good morning. Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well, sir. Thank you for coming on the program this morning. I think we'll just start from what has been playing out in the last less than 24 hours. Let's start from there before we dig deep into other things as far as the state of the nation and the opposition is concerned. The president was speaking with renewed hope ambassadors yesterday, represented across the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT. And it was literally rallying his people to say, look, we can get this done. In fact, with you guys, it's a done deal. I have nothing to fear. I'm not intimidated by anyone. If there's anything they cannot do is to intimidate me. It looks like, despite the rallying of the opposition, the formidable force the ADC is causing, the president, doesn't look flustered. You've been with him. You've seen how this thing play out. You were at the vanguard of the APC in 2015 on the streets, and you led the campaign of Muhammadu Buhari twice. What do you think the president is saying? And is it that confident? Is the ADC also looking at him and saying, maybe this man is really ready for us?
If he's confident, tell him to tell Nuhu Ribadu to leave the judiciary and INEC alone if he's confident. Why apply the use of the institutions, the federal institutions against the ADC? Tell him that if he's confident, he should instruct his national secretary advisor to leave the judiciary and INEC alone and see whether he will win the election.
What do you mean by, Your Excellency, what do you mean? That's a strong allegation. Are you saying Nuhu Ribadu is intimidating the judiciary or the INEC? What are you saying in essence? Because their job doesn't look like they meet at any point in time.
I will not explain. If you don't have eyes, leave it. Even Nuhu knows that. And he brags about it. That's the funny part of it. If he thinks he's capable of winning the election, they should allow the INEC and judiciary alone. Look at the interpretation of the ruling or judgment by the Court of Appeal. Amupitan interpreted the judgment to be that we are leaderless. But that's not true, and that's not what the law says.
Are you saying, sir, that in a free, fair, credible election, that Bola Tinubu will lose with all he has in terms of 36 governors, lawmakers, and his rallying team across the grassroots?
Whether free, fair, or unfair and not free, if we are on the ballot, President Bola Tinubu will lose the election. Take it for free. Take it for granted. Look, the problem is he does not want a strong candidate on the ballot. So what are they doing? What they are doing is that they are interfering with all the parties using the judiciary as an institution. So every day they go to court, they get all sorts of funny judgments and all that. Let them allow the institutions to pursue justice. Let there be justice. And let them allow all the political parties to have candidates on the ballot and see whether President Bola Tinubu will win. How can he win with such an economy? How can he win with such an insecurity? How can he win when the president can't even campaign? When the president will stop at Plateau Airport? So how will he go to start to campaign in Plateau? I don't think we should address this issue. If you want to address some other important issue, can we go to that point? The point is, the strategy that they are applying is simple. Let us use government institutions to stop the people. Simple.
And speaking of winning, you are a major contender for the ADC ticket, all things being equal. But you also worked under the last administration of late President Muhammadu Buhari, a key minister in that administration. And as my colleague has just mentioned, you led his campaign twice. And for many, that administration set Nigeria back many years in terms of its management of the economy and finances. So for those who see your aspiration, and perhaps if you eventually got the ticket, as a minus, a baggage for Nigeria rather than a plus, what do you say to them? How would you defend your aspiration as a contender for the presidential ticket?
First, I don't agree with you. There's a difference between myself and President Buhari. I was governor of Rivers State. Can we do a referendum? all the candidates who are or aspirants who are running for presidency, including President Bola Tinubu, have served government. Do a referendum. Go to P2B, go to Anambra State and see what is done. Go to the Vice President Atiku was Vice President. Let's see what he's done. Let's see what he's done in customs. Let's look at what Tinubu did in Lagos. Let's look at what Tinubu is doing in Nigeria now. Come to Amaechi in Rivers State. See what I've done in Rivers State. Look at what I've done in transportation and choose who will be the presidential candidate or choose who will be the president. That's what to do. When you now compare, oh, you were part of President Buhari's government. Of course I was. Did we do? We are better than Tinubu by far. From the day I left Minister of Transport, that is the day the way construction stopped. We put the security facilities in place in our water, and there was security in our water. Is it the same thing today? Now they are paying 1.something trillion naira to militants to protect pipes. Did we do that? Was corruption this high? Was the bag of rice this costly? Were people being killed everywhere in this magnitude? Yes, people are dying in Buhari's government, not in this magnitude. Where governors will enter armored personnel carrier to address their citizens. For Christ's sake, can you please? Look, let the country assess us based on all the things. We have held public positions. All of us have held public positions. I was speaker, so assess me by the role I played as Speaker of Parliament in Rivers State. I was governor. Go and assess what I did. I'm the only governor in Nigeria who confronted insecurity and surmounted insecurity in Nigeria. So check that. That's what you should do. You just check all that. So we can stop this argument of who is a better candidate, who is a better person, who can manage the country. I've managed the country before, not in the magnitude of the president. I've managed the Minister of Transport. I discharged my responsibility as the Minister for Transport. I consulted. I completed the Kaduna-Abuja rail line. I started and completed the Lagos-Ibadan rail line. I built a brand new seaport that Lagos State government was claiming that they built it. I built it from beginning to the end, completed the Lekki Deep Seaport. I started it, I broke the ground, I completed it. Because I resigned as minister, the Lagos State government currently got President Buhari to commission it. I built a train factory where locomotives and coaches can be assembled here in Nigeria. Nobody knows. They've abandoned it. They're abandoned, completed. So ordinarily by now we should be producing or assembling coaches and locomotives. But it's completely abandoned. It's somewhere close to Lagos, completed. And that was not even something that federal government paid for. It was part of my agreement with the company that must do something in Nigeria. So when you ask the question, oh, you are part of Buhari's government, of course I was. Was Buhari government better than this government? Of course it was. It's better than President Buhari, President Tinubu's government. You see, the difference between me and all the candidates you mentioned, President Tinubu, I'm the only national candidate. I'm the only Nigerian candidate. I'm neither Igbo, some are running as Igbo candidate. I'm neither am I Hausa Fulani, some are running as Hausa. Vote for me because I'm Hausa Fulani. I'm saying vote for me because I'm Nigerian. President Tinubu is running because he's Yoruba man. I'm running as, look, I don't care who else is running. I'm running because I'm a Nigerian candidate, because I know the Nigerian problem and I can solve the Nigerian problem.
Well, it looks like you're asking Nigerians, to pick between, two evils, perhaps the lesser evil. And perhaps Nigerians may be wanting to ask you if you would take responsibility for selling the last administration to them. But let's make progress in the conversation now and look at other issues. And it may not be lost.
Not correct. You're not correct. I didn't say choose between two evils. I said compare all the activities of everybody who has held the position before in the past. Do a referendum and choose from there.
But would you take responsibility for selling the last administration to Nigerians, but the administration failed Nigerians?
You're saying that. I said compare the last government to the present government. This is worse. This is absolutely worse.
But let's leave that for Nigerians to decide. I move to another very important matter, and it may not be lost on Nigerians that the coalition leaders, are coming out to speak to them one after the other. And drawing from the comments of former Vice President who also spoke recently, who has spoken to the matter of zoning and said, in fairness to the North, if you do the calculation, the North has not actually had the same number of years that the South has had to run, and that in that regard, he is a contender for the ticket, regardless of the subject of zoning. What would you say to that, especially as it has implications for who would now eventually emerge as the presidential flag bearer of the ADC all things being equal. Would you be willing to, stand down should Alhaji Atiku Abubakar becomes the the flag bearer of the ADC ticket?
Of course, if he wins, I will support him. But beyond him winning, well, there has to be primary. I don't agree with those who say they have become a consensus candidate. Let's go and face the people. Let the people choose who they want in the party. But let's look at Vice President Atiku. He's eminently qualified to be the president of Nigeria. If within his right to contest for the office of the president of Nigeria, the issue of zoning or no zoning, what President Atiku will realize, Vice President Atiku will have to realize is that when we are all in PDP, this zoning thing is the PDP thing. When we started, it should start from when PDP started in zoning and see whether it's been fair to the South. But I don't agree with South, North, or not, or whatever. What I agree with is that the most qualified candidate be allowed to govern, to be elected. Now, let's look at it. Now, a 39 or 49-year-old president has been elected in Benin Republic. So how would any president who is in his 70s, I'm the youngest candidate among all those running now, 60. The rest of them are 60s and 70. President Tinubu says he's 74, and President Atiku is 80, and I'm 60. Now, this requires capacity. It requires capacity at least to wake up in the morning, at least to be able to keep awake and listen to people, at least to be able to look at the problems, at least to put yourself on the road straight to Jos to find out what's happening in Jos. At least you must have the ability to be able to go to Borno State and find out who. Look, if I'm the president, I'll be at the forefront of those who are fighting the war to stop this shooting. So do we have a president who can wake up in the morning before 12 and see people and say what's going on, and be briefed and say, okay, can we have more meetings? Can we go and find solutions to problems? So Atiku is within Vice President Atiku is within his right to say I want to run. Nobody's stopping him from wanting to run. But then he has to also understand that there are other factors beyond where he comes from. So I told you earlier, I said I'm not running because I'm not a regional candidate. They are all regional candidates. I'm not a regional candidate. I'm not saying vote for me because I'm Igbo. I'm partially Igbo. By my name, you can see that. But that does not. I'm not saying vote for me, I'm Igbo. No. I'm not also saying vote for me because I'm Hausa Fulani. I have said to Nigerians, leave religion and ethnicity alone. That's what put us here. Those who helped President Tinubu to become president were pursuing religious agenda. They were so happy to do a Muslim ticket. They were so happy that they have overcome the other religions in Nigeria. Today, they have discovered that the market does not know Christians or Muslims. The market does not know that. The market understands just one language, Naira and Kobo. It doesn't understand any other language. Now everybody is suffering. Everybody is looking for food to eat. People can buy fuel. People can travel. Now the airlines are threatening to increase cost of transportation. Everything is skyrocketing. For Christ's sake, President Tinubu does not have the right to speak. He doesn't. He promised power and said if he doesn't give power, they should not vote for him. So I just waiting to vote him out.
Right. Well,
same manner. If Vice President Atiku is saying the only qualification he has to be president is because he's from the north, well and good. Let's look at it from his own perspective, if that qualifies him. But like I said, it's within his right to contest. Let's go and do the primary election. If he is telling Nigeria to vote for me because I'm a northern, then it means that on the election day, not to vote for him, South should not vote for him. That's what he's saying.
Well,
is it what you're telling me?
Right. You know, it's quite interesting, your approach. You're not only disqualifying the candidate of the APC and the president, you're also doing that for your colleagues in the coalition, Mr. Atiku Abubakar, Mr. Peter Obi. I wonder what that will do to the current coalition, because it looks like a bull in a china shop. There's going to be a lot of damage even within the coalition. Yes, maybe doing damage to the ruling party, but even the coalition, by actively disqualifying them on the basis of age, their own ethnicity, whether they're running as a Hausa Fulani candidate or as an Igbo candidate. Don't you think that will do more harm to the coalition?
No. I'm saying the question she asked is that when Vice President Atiku was interviewed, he said, look, the North has not had enough to match the South. And I said, for me as a candidate, it doesn't matter whether you're from the North or the South. There are other factors that are at play. The Vice President is within his right to contest. Nobody should stop him because he's a Northerner or because he's not a Northerner. No, you can't say to him, look, because you're not qualified. You're disenfranchising northern elites who are qualified to contest position. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that. Not forget, as I was saying, that he is eminently qualified to be the president of the country. He has been vice president. He has governed with President Obasanjo. I'm also saying that there are other factors to consider in the governance. So the argument that the vice president has put in place of north and south will not be the only factor. There is a factor of age, there is a factor of capacity which I'm saying that Tinubu does not possess. We have not checked the capacity of Vice President Atiku because he has not been a president. We have seen the capacity of President Tinubu. Peter Obi was governor of Anambra State. He did well as governor of Anambra State. You can't also keep him aside. I'm saying, but I will not run as an Igbo candidate. I'm not an Igbo candidate. I'm a Nigerian candidate. I will not run as a Northern candidate because I'm a Nigerian candidate. Because I understand the problem of the South. I understand the problem of the North. I understand everybody's problem. And by God's grace, if I'm elected, I will do I will share my responsibility very well. So it is not about my colleagues in the other part in my party. It is more about when you say that the vice president is talking about zoning, and I say I'm not interested in zoning.
Right.
I'm not.
Right. So I want us to talk to the issues as well. I mean, we could talk about all of the ancillary issues, but let's take a look at the current government, President Bola Tinubu's administration. For the economy, he removed subsidy for the FX and for petrol as well. For education, there's a student loan, which is being touted as one of the wins of this government. For security, for example, there's the move towards state police. In fact, the IGP has submitted a working document to the National Assembly, and the president has spoken to it time and again. There was meant to be that win, in quote, for local government autonomy that this government pushed to the Supreme Court, gave a judgment. So the big question is, what would you do differently?
If these policies you don't mention are the policies they are talking about, I would not be part of politics. The policies, there are policies that President Tinubu is portraying that are not bad as they seem to be. What is making them bad now is because the funds that are coming out of the savings are going to private pockets. Let the president account for those money. If those money were put back into the economy, individuals, society, Nigeria would be better than what it is now.
Which of the funds do you refer to?
I'm referring, for instance, the what they call this one, the savings coming from oil subsidy. So where's the money?
You say it's going to private pockets?
Of course. If it's not going to private pockets, where is the money? What have they done with the money?
Well, the government has said time and again that the states are getting more, and we see that the figures are more than they used to be. So which of the private pockets are these monies going into?
The fact that the money is going to the state does not also in any way discharge the responsibility of the president asking what is happening to the money, or the citizens asking for what's happening to the money. Now, even if it goes to the state, so what are the developments in the states? Let's go to education. There are no schools where you can see new primary schools. There are no states where I've seen new primary schools, or I've seen teachers hired, or I have seen improvement in education. I have not seen any. Currently, we have 20 million out of school children. 20 million. When I was governor, it was 10 million. So less than 10 years ago, they've added another 10 million. How? Under Buhari was less than 15 million. So in less than 2-3 years of President Buhari, we have added about 6 million out of school children. So we're now 20 million. So the question becomes, so what is he doing as a president? Now,
the UNICEF that figure at 10.5. Pardon me, just for the out-of-school children, the UNICEF puts it at 10.5. So perhaps you have another figure?
No, that's not correct. I wish I had my documents here. Okay. I can be 10.5. I think it was 10 million when I was governor.
Well, so who's your figure credited to?
Is it UNESCO? I'll get that to you. I'll get that to you.
All right.
But I'll get that to you. I will. If you give me the next 15 minutes, I'll give you that information, and I have the facts to that case. So the question to ask is President Tinubu making improvement in education by introducing loans? No. He impoverishes you, then introduces loan as a way to assuage your feeling. That doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't solve the problem. So I think that he pulling us backward.
Sorry, just to be clear, for the 10.5, it's for GSS. So together, I think it's about 18.5 million. The government also disputes that, so that might be closer to the figure you put. But there's the education bit, there's a security bit.
I've seen here out of school children population with estimates ranging from 18 million.
Right. So there's the other bits of the question about what you'll do differently, and I think that's one of the conversations they have put out. Are you going to reverse some of them in terms of
let's look what I would do differently.
Right.
The first thing is that the president needs to stop corruption. The money that politicians are stealing would have been used to build primary schools in all over the state. So if the president is serious, he should partner with the governors, hold back the money, the savings he's getting from the subsidy, and see if they can build primary schools in every village. Why at this age is Nigeria still struggling with primary schools, secondary schools, university? Why? I told people that President Trump and Iran can afford to fight wars because they have no problem. There are not such challenges like primary schools, secondary schools, university, the health centers, general hospitals. They've exceeded that. They're talking about AI. So I think if I were to be President Tinubu, I think he needs to sit down with his people. He needs to sit down with Minister of Education. He needs to sit down with governors. He needs to deal with two issues. First and foremost, he needs to deal with primary health care. And primary health care can be built in every state. Then you ask yourself, what are the doctors? You can train doctors. You can ensure that there are college of medicine in which doctors are trained. We may not have enough, but that's the beginning. If you also call the governors together, you can the savings you're having from oil subsidy, you can build primary schools with the governors all over the country. There are so many villages in the north that don't have primary school. People don't go to school, and the president is not worried. What about security?
Your Excellency, just a moment before we come to security. So let's put this out as frontal as possible. So you are saying that you agree with the president on removal of fuel subsidy and removal of subsidy on FX by devaluing the naira. Is that what you're saying emphatically?
No. I'm for now talking about removal of oil subsidy. That I agree. But I'm saying the savings should be given back to Nigerians. If that happens, you know why I have always said that there should be removal of oil subsidy? Because Nigerian elites are stealing the money in the name of subsidy. So why not we get the money and hand back to Nigerians?
How do you handle? So help us understand. How do you want to hand over the money to the citizens? How do you want to do that?
I don't mean hand over cash. I've just told you here. You can start with primary schools, start with secondary schools, start with universities, start with primary healthcare centers. Let Nigerians have access to these things. You see, it's also about affordability, accessibility, and affordability. In Rivers State, the first thing we did was to build primary schools in literally every village. Every village. The next thing we did is to build primary healthcare centers in every village. What did we do again? We employed over 400 doctors to man those health centers. We employed 13,200 teachers to enable those, and that was the beginning, because when we did our assessment, we needed 90,000 teachers in Rivers State.
Your Excellency, without cutting your thought, you know, you've been a governor, and sometimes you've had a running battle with a sitting president that led to your exit from a political party. How much can a president do in influencing subnational? Because you've been a governor, you've given presidents tough time as well. You may have all these lofty ideas. I'm sure the president may have those lofty ideas. But what do you do when the governors are not bulging?
For Christ's sake, there's what's called the Governors Forum. Every president that has called a meeting of the Governors Forum has always had his way. Always had his way. All you need to do is call the Governors Forum to a meeting. These are my expectations. We can't govern this country the way it is being governed currently. So these are my expectations. Can we partner? Can we do this? And give them timeline and give yourself timeline to deliver. So the governors are not mad. They are human beings. Unfortunately, the Governors Forum is no longer functioning the way it was functioning when I was governor.
So before I allow my colleague come in, the issue of security, both the Jonathan administration, the Buhari administration, and now the Tinubu administration all have failed to be able to secure Nigeria. And the question those of us who are journalists want to ask for the opposition like the ADC and each individual who aspires to have the ticket of the party, what significantly different would you do? I think Elijah Abubakar talked about putting more boots on the ground and all that. For you, what can turn the tide? What will Nigeria hear from you right now? They begin to contemplate. Maybe Rotimi Amaechi may be the right guy to help Nigeria's national insecurity to become a safe country.
You see, the question should have been, what did you do in Rivers State? Have you forgotten what Rivers State was like? The first thing we did is we brought intelligence. We got people, we contracted out intelligence in Rivers State. When those people came, even though I don't support when it comes to Nigeria, we can improve intelligence without contracting it out. So you get the Nigerians, you get the Nigerian police, you get the state security services. Let us improve on our intelligence and training. Intelligence will tell you where these people are, how many weapons they have, when they sleep, when they wake up, when they eat. Then you make sure that our soldiers are properly trained, that can confront these people, and you fund them. You fund the military. You must make sure they have enough equipment and enough money. You must make sure that if any soldier dies, you're able to pick up from where he stopped with his family. They must know that they want to die for the country. That's what we did in Rivers State. We paid every person we lost at the war front. We took over the family. In fact, there was somebody that was shot while flying the helicopter. We flew him out of the country. And we pay the children's school fees. That's what we need to do. We need to encourage the Nigerian military. They have the capacity to be able to do this. Unfortunately, the funds coming from the budget seem not to be either enough or somebody is diverting it somewhere. So the president needs to ask those questions. So I agree with Vice President Atiku when he says put more boots on ground. Yes, but if you put more boots on ground without information, without intelligence, then they may be likely not to be able to perform. So you need intelligence, you need equipment, you need more boots on ground.
So if the challenge is intelligence, lack of intelligence, and perhaps corruption with the defense budget, and you had the opportunity as president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to make decisions on those subjects to solve the challenge of insecurity, within what timeline do you think you'll be able to end, or as much as possible, reduce insecurity in Nigeria by at least 80%? So what timeline should Nigerians give you if you were president?
You know I'm laughing. Why would you give me a timeline? Why? The reason why I ask that question is I'm not yet president. You have to go there and assess the situation. You have to first assess the situation. You have to sit with the military, because you may be making promises. Oh, 1 year I'll sort it out. And you get there, you're overwhelmed. So the first thing is to ask, what is the problem? I already know. So people are being killed. So what is the solution? The military will tell you. They will tell you what are their handicaps. They tell you what to do. Then you ask yourself, priorities. Do I choose security, or do I choose education? Which one comes first and the other? In Rivers State, what did we do? The first thing we did in Rivers State is to ask the question: if we don't sleep well, if we don't sort out this insecurity, we can't go to school. Our children will be able to go to school. Children will not go to school, just like now. Imagine Kwara shutting down the entire schools in Kwara State. Of course I won't do that. So what is currently happening there, let me tell you, I said that at the Nine University. The rich men are sending their children overseas to private institutions. The poor men are not being offered education. Now, if we need to deal, yesterday I heard about what happened in Kwara. They ransacked about 2-3 villages in Kwara. People are not sleeping. So I can't say in 2 years. No, I will have to find out with my team how to go about it. I can say it in 2 years or in 3 years. But when I say security, it will be the first thing on my agenda.
Well, you've had an aerial view position to assess these things before, being in the former administration, and you've been a governor before. So we're hoping you'll be able to give a timeline. But another critical matter that you may have perhaps spoken to earlier on is, perhaps the monies from subsidy savings not being judiciously expended. We've heard the administration say to us that the governors are getting more allocation, and this government has in fact taking the subnationals to court on the matter of local government autonomy. We've heard the president say to the governors, wet the grass more. We've heard him even threaten to issue an executive order should local government autonomy not be implemented in line with the Supreme Court verdict. And we have in fact more governors at this point, but what we're hearing is that the constitution has to be amended for direct payment to be made to local government accounts. As president, what would you do differently to navigate around the politics of the thorough implementation of local government autonomy to ensure that funds get indeed to the grassroots?
Somehow the governors are not only the problem. The first step, constitutional amendment. When I got the judgment, I said, well, the wise men in the Supreme Court can never be wrong. But we all know as lawyers that the right thing would have been to amend the Constitution, because the Constitution is very clear. There must be a chart. There must be a joint meeting between the state governors and the local government to be able, and the federal government to be able to discharge that responsibility of getting the money to the local government. So you need to amend the Constitution to enable the local government to have access to these funds. Now, you need to also make sure that these funds are judiciously applied, because they're not currently being judiciously applied. Whether you like, all you have done by that judgment is to transfer from one, I'm being careful not to use the wrong word, but the government won't be happy as a government. But from one misapplication of funds to another misapplication of funds in the local government. Now, what you need to do is, after the amendment of the constitution, and then the funds are given straight to the local government chairman, you must ensure that they are punished because they don't have immunity. You can't say, oh, I can't arrest the local government chairman because he has immunity. The government has immunity, but the local government chairman doesn't have immunity. So if they know that there are consequences for the poor application of those funds, then they will go to jail. If they know they will go to jail, then the funds will be properly applied. So those rural things, like I've just told you here, primary school is the responsibility of the local government. They neither build one, nor do they renovate any. So primary healthcare center is also the responsibility of the local government chairman. But they also abandon that responsibility. When I was governor, I took those responsibilities from them by reaching an agreement with them to allow me to take that responsibility. And I discharge that responsibility by building in every village we have in River State a primary school and a primary healthcare center, and I employ doctors and teachers. So to do that, you should first amend the constitution. When you amend the constitution, then and they now have direct access to the money, then the governors cannot interfere. But the governors must look at what they are doing so that they are punishing, they don't apply the money.
So, and that leads me to the next question. So, as governor, did you allow local government funds get to the local government as governor, or did you superintend over those funds? So, do you stand in a position where you can say that you have the moral right to either criticize a local government, governors rather, or to say that you would amend the constitution if local governments didn't thrive under your watch?
From the beginning of the day I became the governor of River State to the day I left, I never saw a local government chairman over the issue of money. Never knew how the money was. Never talked to them about their money. Never touched the money. I told them, I said, do a referendum of all the aspirants and candidates. Do a referendum. They will tell you in River State, all, including those who hate me, will tell you that money is not my problem. I don't talk to people about money. I never talked to any governor, any local government chairman. I can give you their names, you call them, I'll give you their phone number, you call them and ask them. If any day they met with me, sent me a gift, or called me one day, or I sat with them in a meeting and directed them use the money for this purpose. No, I don't do that. That is not being giving them their independence or autonomy. I did the same with judiciary. You can ask the chief judge. Never call him one day. Whatever he put in the budget, he got the money up front. Because I believe, as a former speaker, that I should play by the rule of law. That is the first thing we need to do. There has to be rule of law and order. Currently, we don't have that. The judiciary needs independence, complete funding, complete independence. The government does not have to interfere. The local government needs complete autonomy. The governor does not need to interfere just with the same as the president. And I did that as governor of Viability. And I still say, let us have a listen back to all the candidates and aspirants and see who will fare better.
So, well, you left the PDP pre-2015, and described the PDP as the problem. Then you moved to the APC. Then you've left the APC again to the ADC. What do you say to people who say, well, it doesn't look like you're fighting for Nigerians? They see you as a serial disruptor who falls out of favor when you're either no more holding the aces as a minister or having a key part in the government, or in the event that you lost a primary?
Look, again, funny question. So I left the PDP.
Yeah.
The country knew what happened. I was literally chased out of PDP. You want me to remind you that I was chased out of PDP?
Who chased you out?
The president.
How did he chase you out?
President. Eh?
How did he chase you out? That's President Goodluck Jonathan.
Yes, with his wife. They took over the political structure in River State and chased me out. The same with APC.
Was that President Tinubu that chased you out of the APC?
hold on, sir. I will never keep quiet in the face of injustice. So when I do that, they begin to plan to make me irrelevant. So that happened in PDP. The President Goodluck and his wife chased me out and handed over the structure to other people. So I moved with all of us who are governors, and my offense was because I was chairman of Governors Forum. Okay, come to APC. We contested, the same happened. I was chased out of APC. Then I went to ADC. But that's not even the issue. So let's forget people who chased who and who didn't chase who. I don't also agree with the policies some of them are pursuing. I have sat down with President Goodluck Jonathan several times on the issue of my disagreement and what the policies are. The first day they said President Tinubu won primaries, I told him I don't agree with him. What don't I agree with him? There is a balance in society. The balance is that you must protect all religious interests, all ethnic interests, and I don't see the way the president governed Lagos that he has the capacity to govern Nigeria. And I'm not proving wrong. I would not be president, and everybody will come from the south. I will not be president, and all of my friends will be ministers. No, Nigeria is complex and it's huge. All interests must come to play. Businessmen's interests, you must protect their interests. You must assist them to grow their business. You must run the economy in such a way that everybody can have a say. Everybody can have his investment grow. You must also allow the Hausa Fulani man to know that he's a Nigerian. You must allow the Igbo man to know that an Igbo man must be proud to be called a Nigerian. If we continue what we're doing currently, the Igbos will not be happy. They will continue to say they want to leave. So every interest must be represented. When I see this injustice and I speak out, they come after me.
Right. So I want us to speak to a key part of your time in government. The coalition has time and again faulted the president's handling of the economy, particularly the debt. And for someone who, during your tenure, oversaw the loans that were gotten to build infrastructure, do you also blame this government for getting loans in that sense? And perhaps you can put a figure to the loans that were secured during your time for either the rail infrastructure and the rest.
You know, the problem you have is what I call investigative journalism. But before you ask this question, you should have investigated. Now, the only loan we got in Ministry of Transport for railway, $1.6 billion. $1.6 billion. You know, when we get to cabinet and we get approval to award contracts and we say we'll apply for loan, everybody calculates it. If you compute those loans we wanted to apply for, it will amount to nearly $36 billion. We did not apply for those loans. Even if we did not get those loans. We got only $1.6 billion from China.
So what exactly is the point here? Because my question is, when the coalition speaks to the government's handling of loans or collection of loans, you also collected loans. So I'm asking you, that you fault this government for collecting loans. This is not a matter of investigation. The figures are out there.
You didn't get my answer. Nothing wrong with loans. Get it right. The magnitude of the loans they are currently collecting is frightening. Completely frightening. Secondly, the application of those loans, they should show us what they've done. Since I left Ministry of Transport, there's no railway commissioning. As Minister of Transport, we commissioned more than two railway lines. We commissioned the Lagos Ibadan. We commissioned Kano Kaduna. The president commissioned the FCT internal rail line. We launched Kano. We launched Kano Kaduna Kano. We launched it. We commissioned Itabewari that goes to South. So let President Tinubu tell us one thing. In fact, they tried to commission the project that I started the Port Harcourt-Aba rail line, which they've completed the track. But to build ordinary station in Port Harcourt and Aba, they abandoned it. Most people don't know that I started Port Harcourt-Aba and it's completed. Why it's not being seen is because they refuse to build the train station in Port Harcourt and the train station in Aba. So sometimes when my friends from the southeast ask me what rail line did you build in the southeast, they don't know that I commenced the Port Harcourt Maiduguri because I'm from Rivers State and we have completed the Port Harcourt Aba is completed and running, but I hear now it's been abandoned. So when you take loan, Nigerians must see what the loan is used for. Currently, they should tell us what they use the money for. I want to see. I'm willing to attend.
Your Excellency, we're totally out of time. Yes, you're totally out of time. Let me just ask you a political question before we wrap up. And you've been Speaker for 8 years, Governor for 8 years, Minister for 8 years. So you know that when it comes to politics, it's about numbers. Sometimes it's not about who is the best. It's about who can win. So I'm asking about viability criteria. Elijah Atiku Abubakar is coming with 6.9. Peter Obi is coming with 6.1 based on the last election. Robbie is coming with 1 point something million. You had talked about the fact that your structure was taken over from you in the Rivers State, so you haven't been able to produce a governor. You know, like governors like to produce successors in that sense. And you see what is playing out in Rivers State as we speak. So in terms of viability, not necessarily who is more competent, viability for numbers, do you think you can match the other guys in your team?
You know, it's the questions you ask that make me give answers that look as if I'm not in tune with my colleagues in the ADC. Let's take your question. I ran in APC and I was second without anybody's support, and I was second. So I wasn't on the ballot. Okay, so President Vice President who came with 6 point something.
Obi
My friend and colleague P2B came with 6 point something million votes and all that. Fine, good question. But we are registering now in ADC. Why haven't that 6 point something million registered with ADC? Why are we struggling? Why do we have 3 million? See, the factors are different. Nigerians are hungry. They are looking for somebody who can find solution to their problem. That's why I say that it's about viability and capacity. I said so in the ADC convention, and that I am the most viable to contest that election because Nigerians are looking for the following factors: who can put food on our table, who can change the issue of security. I have run Rivers State and I've shown that I can fight insecurity. Who again can represent us well? And I'm told you here, of all of us running, I'm 60. Whether you like it or not, I'm 60. Unfortunately, I'm 60. Whether fortunately or unfortunately, I'm 60. So it is not about this person. If I was on the ballot, I would have had more than 6 point something million votes because of my acceptability. So you can't ask that question because I was on the ballot. But you see, it's the question you ask that make me in answering that question. It looks as if I may have to correct you when you talk about my.
But these men, pardon me, but these men have been tested. They've gotten their 6 million votes. What are you planning to bring to the table? They've brought 6.9, 6.1. Can you do better than them? Just in 5 seconds.
Okay, you were causing a problem by asking those questions. That's why I have always refused to be interviewed. This one, the party forced me to allow you to interview me, for I wouldn't have interviewed. Okay, so let's look at all the votes you have mentioned. But no, they've not been able to defeat Tinubu. Only somebody who knows how to defeat Tinubu should be able to run against Tinubu.
All right.
Yeah, do you agree?
Okay, Your Excellency, it's not about agreeing or agreeing, but it's just a question. Perhaps you know what they don't know, so maybe that's your advantage because you led the campaign for Buhari and you played a key role.
I led it twice.
Yeah.
I led it twice, and I delivered 50 million votes.
So you're coming with 50 million votes indirectly.
That's the question you're asking. That's the question you're asking.
Well, we wish your party well because Nigerians are worried about whether the ego battle will make or mar the coalition. Rotimi Amaechi, former governor of Rivers State.
No, get it right. There is no ego battle. I've told you here, Governor P2B is eminently qualified. Hold on, I know that. Governor P2B is eminently qualified to govern this country. He is. If he wins primary, I will be at the forefront. I will want to even be DG. At the forefront of those who campaign for him. If Vice President Atiku wins the primary, he's also eminently qualified to govern this country. He is. He's very experienced. Age comes with experience, you know. I will also be at the forefront of those who campaign for him. Of course, I will be. If Vice President Atiku was the presidential candidate last time, he will not do a Muslim ticket.
All right. We're totally out of time, Your Excellency. We're totally out of time. It's an ongoing conversation. You've made your commitment, so we put you on record. Apparently, you want this to go to the primary, but thank you.
Anybody who wins the primary, I'll be at the forefront.
Thank you, sir. Rotimi Amaechi, former governor of Rivers State, former minister of transportation. We are thankful that you came through, and we'll be inviting you yet again when all of this is done and dusted. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.